Okay, thanks very much, Rick. Very excited to be here with my good friend and colleague, Robert Catron from Freeport. We go back quite a long way to when we started building data science team with WFT and Freeport a few years ago, and they've continued to go to strength to strength. So great to have you here, Robert.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. It's exciting to be here. It's been a long journey together. It'll be fun to talk a little bit about it and share our successes and our failures.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are often some of the funner times, and certainly some of the most enlightening times. Yeah. And we keep moving on there. So, on the subject of timing, right? You're working in a 100-year-old organization in a 10,000-year-old industry. How do you go about building a team that really starts to leverage innovation and build this kind of world-class next generation data science capability?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, first and foremost, I think Freeport's well positioned because we have such a culture of innovation, continuous improvement, and that really becomes kind of that breeding ground, right, for something like data science and AI to come in and really make an impact. That said, we've got a lot of really smart people, and generally, there can be a lot of skeptics around new technologies and new approaches, new processes. And so, the approach we took was kind of that one win at a time kind of approach. I remember, the first project we worked on together, we came in, we did a 16-week kind of proof of concept, found a lot of really interesting things, very successful. We came and we brought it to senior leadership, and everybody's like, "Wow, this is great stuff. Let's continue." And the CTO at the time turned to me and goes, "That was the fun project, gentlemen. Now you have to pay for it."
Yeah, and that's when I came in, and they realized.
That's right. So we said, "Let's give Jamie a call," right? So we kind of started it one win at a time, right? And proving that we could do this, proving that there was positive return on the investment, and that was how it went for a couple of years, and then. Suddenly everybody kind of woke up, and I think the next critical step is knowing from when you've kind of proven the value to, okay, let's make a big bet. Like, let's fundamentally change the way we do our business, with analytics and data science being a strategic part of it. And that's kind of where we're at now, where we've made that big bet. It's paid off. Leadership has recognized that not only do you get a good return, but it can actually be a strategic part of your business.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I remember, talking a lot about data mining versus copper mining, right? And taking this raw material of all your data and turning that into gold and making use of that. Something I always thought about. That was interesting for Freeport and interesting the way in which we found success was almost everyone we talked to, or certainly a lot of people we talked to, were either engineers or geologists or planners or mechanics, people who have already that scientific background. I thought that was really, really interesting. Where if you brought the science, you brought the numbers, there was trust in that already. But that was like a significant cultural challenge you seem to find at other organizations that didn't really have a Freeport, right? As long as we came and showed that we had science, that was on our side. There was folk were very happy to listen to the numbers and trust what they were showing us. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about, especially as you've seen this step change from trying analytics, seeing some good success, and then turning the whole organization to be focused on analytics? How does that work for you with managing talent both internally and externally?
Yeah, no, I think one of the things we've learned about this throughout this kind of journey is that innovation starts with your people, right? And if you listen to your people. If you invest in them, if you give them a space where they can safely innovate, right? Celebrate their successes, quickly learn from their mistakes or their failures, and not get punished, great things will happen. And so, part of the way we've embodied that in data science is kind of this hybrid approach of bringing in some key people who are steeped in data science, right? And the tools and the techniques. They're kind of our core data science practitioners and visionaries, but also augmenting that by kind of canvassing, the workforce, identifying those people who are passionate about analytics and using it to change our business, and then upskilling them on modern platforms, right? So things like machine learning, Python, SQL, really pulling them out of, doing all their analysis in Excel and giving them this really high-powered platform, new modern techniques and approaches to analyzing data. And what we find is that you put those two groups of people together, and really it elevates your game, right? Because now you got a group of people who know the machine learning really well, and a group of people who come from the business and know the business really well, and they can work together to solve problems much, much more efficiently.
Yeah. I remember, we came a long way when we were working together, and there was a lot of kind of fun banter between the groups of you had this big data voodoo and all these complicated algorithms and coming together. But I think just being able to converse as a group and bring, bringing a data science perspective of here's how we look at things, and then a mining perspective of, well, here's how, we look at things, and recognizing that both sides have to give a little bit in order to be successful, is really key, right? It's in the in-between bits where I think you have success. So I think you see similar things from, on the technology side versus the data science side, right? There's tech folks who want to create the best platform that they want. And then there's data scientists who just want to run the numbers and leverage the most out of the platform as they can. But you gotta find that common ground somewhere. I know you guys have done some pretty interesting things around leveraging Agile and change management. How critical do you think that's been to some of the achievements you've been able to achieve?
Yeah, I think, it's so funny looking back on it. Like now, I think I hear a question like, how does Agile play a role or help the data science and the AI growth? I really don't see a way that you could do one, AI without Agile. I always tell people data science and AI is a team sport, right? You can't have your data scientist in a dark room, sliding pizza under the door, right? And candy canes and unicorns pop out, a couple months later, and all beautiful insights are at your feet. And so Agile really becomes this framework for taking a cross-functional group of people together, kind of throwing them in the pot, giving them a business problem, allowing them to focus on it and iterate on it very, very quickly. And a framework for kind of sifting through the noise, right? And focusing on value and delivering it. And so, Agile supercharges analytics and really it just supercharges any kind of improvement effort. It's a great tool. It is a tool. It's not magic. You can't just execute the process to execute the process, but really understand the principles and behaviors that Agile represents, and then embodying those in the way you work together. And that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah. I think something I really appreciated, I certainly sort of remember having to appreciate it as I reminded someone recently who just started working on the data science team. they were getting to visit the mine sites. Like, first week they were going in and going to visit one of the mine sites, and I think probably in Arizona. But and he certainly got some pretty awesome locations through different parts of Arizona, New Mexico. It's really cool to get a visit. I remember I had to work 6 months, really prove myself before I got to go. So I'm glad I could blaze a trail to folks to getting to get better view of the operations. But I think it's really critical. Another critical piece is getting close to the action in that way. Obviously, sort of physically, but and we're challenged right now with lockdown. But getting close to the action, close to the operations, making sure that you're becoming this real advocate for the boots on the ground operations that are doing things. You actually understand, right? These are not ones and zeros coming out of a random machine. This is a living, breathing. The whole mine site works together. The truck's a certain part of it. You can see like the orchestra of the whole operation is really cool. So I'm glad to see that you've kind of ramped that up a little bit more, and you're bringing more, bringing the data scientists closer to the action, as it were. I think that's really critical.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there. I mean, that's something we learned, I think, or really internalized a little late in the game, right? I think we did a good job bringing a lot of cross-functional expertise together. But we did it, when we first started, we did it in a way where we were pulling them from our operations back to a central location. And what we actually learned a couple of years into is that if you actually take those people and you push them out to the operation where the work is, the quality of the product that you build at the end, the amount of user acceptance that you get is so much better, right? And so it's actually been a big challenge during COVID, right? Maintaining the type of velocity and connection to the operations that we achieved when we started flowing people to the work, flowing people to the edge, where the magic happens, where the copper is made. And so we're excited for the day when we can get back out there and have boots on the ground.
Yeah, I bet. So what are some of the cool things you've done this year? Like some of the really interesting piece of analytic or data science? I know you guys are been pretty busy, so interested to hear about what are some of the cool things, cool innovations you've come up with.
Yeah, it's been an amazing year. I mean, even through COVID, I feel like we've accomplished an amazing amount of work and really started to push the edge on a couple of new things. One of them, we've been working on a tool for several years called Haul Truck Operator Scorecard, and it uses hundreds of sensors coming off of our haul trucks, geospatial information, and just a huge amount of analytics to actually measure all the things that go into our haul truck efficiency as it's traveling or doing its work at a very, very detailed level, at the 1 second level. So every second as that truck's driving down the road, I can tell you what's the health of the road. Is there a truck in front of this truck slowing it down? Is there weather? How's that operator operating that piece of equipment? Are there skills that we need to invest in that operator? Is the truck mechanically performant, right? Is it producing the amount of horsepower it should? So very, very complex solution. We've been rolling it out over this year in a virtual setting. It's been very, very successful. And actually just recently, we actually accepted an award from NIOSH, which is a national organization. It's kind of a scientific body for health and safety of mining, right? And so we got the 2020 Technical Innovation Award in the mining sector for all the work we did around identifying when operators maybe were pushing the envelope a little too much, right? And had some opportunities to better follow our standard operating procedures. So we could in real time notify that operator that, hey, maybe you want to back off the throttle a little bit. You might be putting yourself in an unsafe situation, or things like that. Maybe when they're dumping the material out, they're rocking the load, and again, putting themselves in a situation that could put them at harm. And so we're really excited about that. Really, really proud of that achievement. I think anytime you can use technology to better someone's, not only their performance on their job, but get them home at night in the same condition they came to work in is a pretty huge thing, right? And we're really, really proud.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's such great news. Congratulations to you and the team. That's really cool, and it's funny. I mean, it's just really, it's great to see that AI data science can have sort of implications that aren't just the bottom line, right? Like understanding a little bit more about safety and how to do our jobs better is really important. And I know it's top priority for Freeport, something we talked about a lot, and that's kind of like proof point of just how serious it's taking this that you're using like latest and greatest technologies to go after it. So I mean, how have you been able to manage between expectations? Because expectations of AI, or called big data 5 years ago, whatever it was, are always massive, right? There's always folks who are looking to leverage it, and there's plenty of material out there talking about opportunity. How do you manage that with leadership to make sure that Freeport is achieving incredible success, and it is amazing? You can still do that with AI and somehow like not live up to the hype, which just means like that the hype is way overhyped and unrealistic, as you have this award-winning huge business benefit type program. So how do you manage to make sure those expectations are met and continue to grow with AI and data science?
Yeah, I think it's important, right? Because it's easy to get pulled into the hype. You can start to think it's this, like we said earlier, kind of this magic black box, right?
Right.
You feed stuff into, and money comes out the other end, right? Or business insights come out the other end. I think you need a very robust and purposeful, deliberate process for defining a vision as a company, where you want to go, right? Rationalizing kind of the opportunities that are in front of you to invest in, prioritizing those, and then flowing people to work. And so, Freeport is evolving that process, right? We've kind of gone through version 1. COVID got us a little COVID happened, and we needed to focus on that. And then, we're coming back to, okay, what does version 2 of this process look like? But I think once projects start and once we decide to invest, right, I think the key the thing I've used very, very tactically is frequent feedback loops, right? So what we focus on is pulling our stakeholders in and making them part of the learning journey, right? So that as we're finding things out about our business or maybe failing fast, they understand exactly where we are. And then, from leadership's perspective, they're not writing a blank check, right? They're making incremental investments. And so, we usually, they'll say, okay, I want to invest in this idea. Let's come back in 8 or 12 weeks, let's come back together and see where we are and make sure that this still makes sense, right? So kind of, again, that willingness to invest, but also understanding the willingness to fail fast, right? And say, listen, this investment or this opportunity or idea wasn't quite what we thought it was going to be. Let's put it back on the shelf and go focus somewhere else right now. Does that make sense? That kind of what you're asking there? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great answer. And it was kind of bleeds into something I was going to ask you about a little more tactically is, this concept of ML ops, right? Bringing a sort of DevOps type mentality to machine learning, which kind of allows you to scale up, right? Really kind of grow up as an organization and take your data science and AI practices to the next level, whilst also being able to say, here are things where we, can rapidly, to your point, fail, but rapidly innovate, rapidly grow. So, interested to learn a little bit more about your MLOps plans.
Yeah. Well, I'm also interested to learn more about MLOps. I think it's something where the industry as a whole, I think, is at a point where we're trying to figure it out, and there's no right way to do it right now, I don't think. I think your comment on how do you do it at scale is really the key thing and the problem at least we, and I think a lot of people are struggling with. It's easy to kind of look at different work streams and investments and where you're at when you're small, right? Or you've got a few wins on the table, you're in the first couple of years of this. Now that we're closing in on a decade of doing this work, the amount of models you've got running, where they're at from a health perspective, where different experiments stand, right? And kind of what we call our champion boards, right? When we're developing new things, that becomes more, resource intensive. And so the challenge in front of us is how do we use frameworks to collect that information and expose it in a very automated way. One of the areas, we're a big a Databricks user. And Databricks, one of the frameworks they put forward is kind of this ML flow framework. And so we're looking at that and how we can leverage that framework to collect kind of model artifacts and create these this tracking system where we can not only look at productionalized models and how they're performing and when we need to reinvest in those, but also kind of managing that development life cycle of, what's our champion board, right? If we're on this problem, we got 2 or 3 data scientists kind of trying out different experiments, what ones are working, what ones aren't, and how do we push those forward? And so I think standardization and automation of that process. I don't know, I lost that. ROADs.
I'll learn how to say it first, and then we'll work on it.
Yeah, is key there, right? It's key. So yeah,
I've been having a big problem with interoperability recently on another project we're doing, which again, pretty important part of it. It's exciting stuff. I think MLOps is still a little bit in its infancy, but the idea, seeing the success folks have had at DevOps on the dev side, and the opportunity there is as these models and practices and capabilities mature. I think it's a lot of opportunity there. So
it's key. Key to scale.
So just quickly, what's next? What's your you've achieved a lot of great stuff. What's next for you guys?
Everything is next. We're going to take over the world. I think I am really excited. We've been doing a lot of work recently in video analytics and pushing models, back to that ML ops, like how do we train, pull the images back to the cloud, train a model, and then push a model back down to an edge, a smart device on the edge in a very automated way. And I'm really excited about that. We recently have completed kind of our first video analytics solution. It's deployed down to a smart device in one of our operations. It looks at a big primary crusher. It's basically this huge device that makes big rocks into small rocks. And as you can imagine, all kinds of material comes in there and it can jam. It can jam up. And so this video analytic actually detects that jam and will notify the operator so that they can keep another truck from dumping material onto that jam and making it worse. And And so we're really excited about that. And the entire company's excited. I'm getting calls, every other day from operations saying, "Hey, I saw that cool thing you guys did. Can you hook us up with some video analytics?" So really excited there. I think there's a lot of really cool applications in video.
Awesome. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing more from that and seeing what's beyond that too. So I think we're about time.
Okay.
So thanks very much for chatting with me. It's been great to catch up.
Yeah, it was awesome. Awesome chat. Thanks so much for giving me a call.
Yeah, not a problem. And yeah, thanks to our audience for joining. I'll hand you over next to Rick for the machines and AI journey across government. So stay tuned.